It's hard to believe that 25 years have passed since that terrible day at Daytona when Dale Earnhardt was taken from us. An entire generation of drivers have come and gone since then. There are Cup drivers today who were not alive when Dale turned his last lap. Still, the Dale Earnhardt mystique looms large over the sport. He's remembered for the way his life ended on the last lap of the 2001 Daytona 500 and for the way he lived that life in his previous 22 starts in the sport's biggest race. Godspeed, Dale. You were one tough son of a gun. Be sure and stick around until the end of this video when we'll be announcing the most important project we've ever undertaken here at the Scene Vault. Subscribe and hit the notification button now to make sure you don't miss a thing. (1979). Rookie Dale Earnhardt managed to lead 10 laps before finishing 8th. 1 lap down to race winner Richard Petty, the man he would one day tie for the most championships in NASCAR history. The following year, in 1980, Dale won the Busch Clash for the first time, but a poor showing in his qualifying race placed him 32nd on the starting grid for the 500. Still, he managed to lead 10 laps and then dogged Buddy Baker for the lead late in the race before both drivers pitted under green on lap 180. Buddy took fuel only, while crew chief Jake Elder called for Dale to take on 4 tires and fuel. That ended any shot the Rod Osterlund-owned team had at winning that day. And to make matters worse, Dale was forced to pit again the next time around after a lug was left loose on the right rear. And for good measure, Dale ran over Jake's foot as he left his pit stall following that final stop. There would be more Daytona 500 disappointments for Dale Earnhardt in the future. 1981 began with cars downsized by NASCAR from 115 to 110-inch wheelbases. The defending Winston Cup champion, Dale gave Ned Jarrett the briefest of interviews on pit road before the start of the 1981 Daytona 500. Dale led 4 laps in the event before settling for a 5th-place finish. The year would be tumultuous. Rod Osterlund sold the team to J.D. Stacy midway through the season, leading Dale to finish out the schedule with longtime independent driver and team owner Richard Childress. Next came a move to Bud Moore Engineering and Ford for a couple of years. In both of his Daytona 500s with Bud, 1982 and 1983, Dale led a handful of laps before blowing engines well before the halfway point. The second of those issues, in 1983, deposited oil on the track that led to one of the most vicious accidents of rival Darrell Waltrip's career. 1984 was Dale's first Daytona 500 back with Richard Childress, his friend and team owner for the rest of his life. That debut turned out to be a doozy. Dale had the best seat in the house to watch Cale Yarborough slingshot past Darrell Waltrip for the win on the final lap, and then beat Waltrip to the line for 2nd place. As Bill Elliott rocketed his way to the first of his 11 superspeedway victories that season in the 1985 Daytona 500, Dale failed to lead even a single lap of the event for the first time in his career. A blown engine, again, put him out of the race before the halfway point. 1986 is the first of Dale's oh-so-close disappointments that most folks remember. He owned Daytona that speed weeks by sweeping the Busch Clash, Busch Series, and his qualifying race. Every move that leader Jeff Bodine made as the 500 wound down, Dale was right there with him in 2nd place, a high-speed shadow. This was going to be a slingshot or wreck for the ages. Onlookers at the track and across the country on TV held their breath waiting for Dale to make his move. He made a move, all right, to pit road on lap 197, his engine starved for fuel. Dale then blew the engine in his haste to get back on the track. Dale would go on to capture the 2nd title of his career in 1986 and his first with Childress. Another championship came Earnhardt's way in 1987, a season in which he finished 5th in the Daytona 500 season opener before reeling off victories in 6 of the next 7 races on the schedule. There was a new sponsor and trickery afoot in 1988. According to Will Lind, a longtime tire changer and mechanic with Richard Childress Racing, the team's Daytona 500 entry that season was, quote, very illegal, unquote. due to a rear deck lid that was so long there was no car cover big enough to cover it. It didn't help. Dale led just 2 laps and finished 10th. During happy hour leading into the 1989 edition of the Daytona 500, the engine in Dale's cars started missing. The team replaced all 8 spark plugs to no avail. That night, crew members replaced the battery, spark plug wires, and distributor. The green flag fell on the 500, and before the car got out of the crew's view going into turn 1, the engine was skipping. Incredibly, Dale was able to salvage a 3rd-place finish behind first-time Daytona 500 winner Darrell Waltrip. 1990, Dale won the first of 10 consecutive qualifying races and the first of 5 straight Busch Series season openers. He dominated the Daytona 500 that year in ways that had rarely, if ever, been seen before. And then, the last lap. In the aftermath, the questions shifted into overdrive. For all of his other accomplishments, would Dale Earnhardt ever win the Daytona 500? Year by year, the speculation grew louder. Who could blame anybody for even considering such blasphemy? For the next 7 years, it was as if the racing fates had conspired to keep Dale Earnhardt from reaching the Daytona 500 mountaintop. In 1991, the left front nose area of his car was damaged when he obliterated a seagull going down the backstretch on just the 2nd lap of the race. Later, he was black flagged for going above the blend line when re-entering the track following a pit stop on lap 79. And finally, he wrecked on the next to last lap after making contact with Davey Allison while racing for 2nd place behind Ernie Irvan. 1992, Earnhardt failed to lead a lap in the Daytona 500 for just the 2nd time in his career. And then he was caught up in a multi-car crash just before the halfway mark. It was a woeful start to what would be one of the worst seasons of Earnhardt's career. The last lap of the 1993 Daytona 500 featured the greatest call in NASCAR broadcasting history, courtesy of Ned Jarrett, his son Dale Jarrett, and Earnhardt.
Come on, Dale. Go, baby, go. All right, come on. I know he's got it to the floorboard. He can't do any more. Come on, take her to the inside. Don't let him get on the inside of you coming around this turn. Here he comes, Earnhardt. It's the Dale and Dale show as we come off of turn 4. You know who I'm pulling for. It's Dale Jarrett. Bring her to the inside, Dale. Don't let him get down there. He's going to make it. Dale Jarrett's going to win the Daytona 500. All right. Oh, look at Martha. Oh, dear. Oh, can you believe it? Way to go. Hey. Man. Did I teach him to drive that race car?
Oh. You think she'll get out of the van, or you're going to go get her out, Ned?
Oh, that poor girl, she needs help.
Happy Valentine's Day, Mrs. Jarrett.
How many people get to participate in 2 Super Bowls? There he goes. He's won the Super Bowl of stock car racing, Joe Gibbs.
Sadness enveloped Daytona in 1994 when Dale's best friend Neil Bonnet was killed during a practice session on February 11th, more than a week before the 500. 3 days later, Rodney Orr also died as the result of an accident during a Daytona 500 practice session. Young Orr was attempting to make the first start of his Winston Cup career. If ever Dale Earnhardt's heart wasn't in a race, it was the 1994 Daytona 500. He led 45 laps, nearly a quarter of the race, but could do no better than 7th place at the checkered flag. Honoring the memory of his buddy Neil every step of the way, Earnhardt captured his record-tying 7th Winston Cup championship at the end of the year. In 1995, Dale was in 3rd place on lap 186 when Bobby Labonte spun to bring out the final caution. Some teams would pit, others wouldn't. Earnhardt didn't care. He told crew chief Andy Petrie over the radio, "Put 4 tires on it and I'll win this race." Dale lined up in 14th place on the lap 189 restart. 2 laps later, he was in 7th. One more time around the track, he was in 5th. Tony Glover, leader Sterling Marlin's crew chief, got on the radio and told his driver, "Get going. Earnhardt's coming." 4th, then 3rd, and finally 2nd place and right on Marlin's bumper for the lead. Unfortunately for Earnhardt, that's where his magnificent march through the field stalled out. He finished 2nd, again, in the Daytona 500. Afterward, Earnhardt told reporters, "Hey, it's the Daytona 500. I ain't supposed to win the damn thing." After trying to chase down Dale Jarrett's Robert Yates Racing Ford in the closing laps of the 1996 Daytona 500, Earnhardt sat in his Chevrolet at the gas pumps, quietly trying to collect his thoughts. His comments on television were tame enough, but as soon as that interview was over, he turned to the print media gathered around and cut loose. The Fords were too strong, Earnhardt began. The Fords were too strong. We didn't have nothing for him. Too strong. They gave him the candy store. He wasn't finished. We couldn't do anything. The damn Fords were too strong. You not see that? He pulled us by himself. We couldn't draft up to him. Did the same thing in the Clash. They, meaning NASCAR, need to wake up. They need to open their eyes. Give him the candy store. 1997 forever defined Dale Earnhardt's relationship with the Daytona 500. He wanted that trophy, and he wanted it bad. Not even a violent flip on the backstretch could stop him. He got back in the destroyed car, drove it back to pit road for makeshift repairs, and finished the race. You better believe Dale Earnhardt was one tough customer. And then, 1998, NASCAR's 50th anniversary, Dale's 20th start in the Daytona 500. It all came together in one of the sport's most magical moments. The race to the caution, the checkered flag, shaking hands on pit road, the donuts, the victory lane celebration. At long last, Dale Earnhardt had his Daytona 500. Mike Skinner, who was officially Dale's Richard Childress Racing teammate, led the 1999 Daytona 500 three times for a total of 31 laps, while Earnhardt failed to pace a lap of the event for just the third time in his career. When it came time to decide the winner in the closing laps, Earnhardt could not or would not hook up with his stablemate, and vice versa. When all was said and done, Earnhardt was forced to settle for second and Skinner fourth. The year 2000 saw Earnhardt's 10-year string of wins in his Daytona 500 qualifying race broken, and afterward, he was none too pleased. That's the worst racing I've seen at Daytona in a long, long time, Earnhardt said. They took NASCAR Winston Cup racing and made it some of the sorriest racing, and took the racing out of the drivers' and crew's hands. We couldn't adjust. We can't make our cars drive like we want. That's just killed the racing at Daytona. That's all I have to say. Actually, Dale wasn't finished. Not yet, anyway. He concluded Mr. Bill France Sr. would have rolled over in his grave if he had seen it. With less than 10 laps to go in the Daytona 500, Earnhardt was caught up in a crash that also involved Michael Waltrip and Jimmy Spencer. Although he sustained damage in the mishap, he was able to complete all 200 laps. He was credited with a 21st place finish. It was the last Daytona 500 checkered flag Dale Earnhardt would ever see. 2001 Daytona 500, last lap. The world NASCAR had once known was over. The tragedy at Daytona wasn't just one bad wreck. It was one more devastating moment in the darkest 18 months in the sport's history. Beginning next week, on Wednesday, February 18th, the 25th anniversary of Dale's accident, we're going to investigate the fatalities, the fear, and the fights that rewrote the rule book in our upcoming series Firestorm, 2000-2001, the years that forever changed NASCAR. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now, because you are not going to want to miss the first or any episode.
That's when we started realizing that, people outside of our fence might be able to contribute.
Second lap by, the window net comes down and that helmet comes flying out of that car. And the helmet's going bang, bang, bang.
We were trying to have a child. As we were strapping him in, we were like, okay, now protect all the jewels and all of this, and...
Engines were running. We got a quick handshake from him. Got to see him smile one last time. And it's amazing. In a blink of an eye, someone can be gone. And
he looked me straight in the eye and held his hand up and wobbled it like a teeter-totter back and forth.
I remember Dad sitting down and talking to Kenny about his autograph and saying, Kenny, you're in NASCAR now. You got to sign your name so people can read it.
When I see those kids come to camp and then leave with that smile on their face, and it's Adam's smile, I know Adam's still a part of me and still a part of my life and still here with me.
I thought we had forever.